Thank you, Jason. Hi, I'm Elena Shloma, and I am a marketing lead for news and media at Google APAC. My presentation will be about what it takes to encourage Indonesian consumers to pay for online news, and it is based on research we have done with Kantar TNS. I hope the insights will be helpful for you to understand what motivates news enthusiasts in Indonesia and the key drivers to get them to start paying for online news. So before I dive into the research findings, I want to share a quote that I recently came across from the former CEO of New York Times, Mark Thompson. And as many of you might know, New York Times has recently announced that their digital business overtakes print for the first time. In an interview about the challenges to monetizing news online, one of the things Mark Thompson said was, and you can see the quote on the screen, "If we meet the audience demand for good journalism, the business problems can be solved." In other words, the key to driving business results is to create a quality online product that people are willing to pay for. I think many of you would agree with this statement, and that is exactly what we learned in our research with Kantar. In fact, as you will see in my presentation, the biggest motivator for people to pay for online news is a desire for accurate information of good quality. Therefore, my presentation will focus on some insights about what are the demands of news readers in Indonesia, what they mean by quality journalism, and how news organizations can encourage them to pay for it. When planning our research with Kantar, we asked this question: what will drive more readers to pay for online news content? And we used an online survey to ask people about different stages in their decision-making journey. The research was done in 6 countries in Asia Pacific, and today we'll be focusing on insights from Indonesia. Before I dive into the research findings, let me quickly mention how we recruited people for the study. First of all, we wanted to make sure that our sample was representative of the internet population in Indonesia, in terms of gender, age, income, and other demographic factors. Second, we were looking for people who actually read news online and did it at least 3 times in a 2-week period. Finally, we were interested in payments for news. We segmented people based on their attitude towards paid news products. We recruited 2 groups of people: those who were already paying for news and those who were still considering paying for news. Those not interested in the paid products were not part of this research. So let me introduce you to our 2 news enthusiasts. Devi in the blue dress here on the slide, who is already paying for news, and Inda in the green dress, who is still considering different options. Now let me take you on a journey together with Devi and Inda. Let's look at the actions and decisions Devi and Inda make at different stages of their journey. We will start with the discovery stage and which news outlets they might be willing to pay for. Then we will look at the access stage, when potential paying customers need more information about the news outlets to make the final decision. Then we move to the purchase stage, when Devi and Inda are at the paywall and need to choose a final offer. And finally, we explore the post-purchase stage with Devi, who is already reading paid news. Let me start with the discovery stage. First thing we were interested to know is, what are the key drivers to get Indonesian readers to pay for online news products? Here you can see the top 3 reasons. As you can see, accurate and exclusive content are key motivators. This is very important to communicate to your news audience when you talk about the value proposition of quality journalism. Now let's deep dive into some nuances for different reader segments. Inda, who is still considering different subscription options, is very much driven by practical reasons to pay for online news. In addition to looking for accurate and reliable information, she wants to avoid fake news and ads. To engage with Inda, it is important for publishers to share information about the quality of the news product you're offering on social media. That is where she is comparing different news outlets and deciding if she wants to subscribe to one of them. Devi, on the other hand, already has experience in paying for online news, perhaps by subscription or by making one-time payments. She is much more driven by personalized and exclusive experience and is more inclined to use search to look for news. To engage with Devi, publishers need to inform her that a paid version of your news site or app will give her a better experience with niche content tailored to her interests. So now let's move to the next stage, which is access. Here we will discuss some key triggers that will drive people who are considering different news products to end up at your paywall. First, we asked people what it took to move them from just considering paying for news to actually going to paywall and taking out their wallets. You can see there are 3 most popular reasons on this slide, which are the biggest triggers being exclusivity. If people cannot get that information elsewhere, that is when they finally decide to pay. Let me share an example from my personal life. During the recent US elections, I needed more explanations to help me understand the US political system and to make sense of what was going on, as it was clearly a very different situation from what we experienced back in my home country, which is Russia. And that was the final trigger for me to subscribe for The Economist to get access to in-depth analysis of the US elections, since I couldn't find enough quality content about this topic on the free platforms. So as you can see, for people considering paying, exclusivity is an important trigger. And exclusivity can take different forms. It can be anything from unique information about sports or opinion-based journalism or unique formats like short videos and infographics. We also ask people where they get information about news providers to make the final decision about subscribing. We learned that websites, social media, and online reviews are the most important sources of information for people trying to decide. What is especially interesting is that people like Inda, who has never paid for online news, for them, reviews are extremely important. And you can see here on the chart that reviews are the #1 source of information for Inda. She wants to know what other people are saying about specific news outlets and how the paid version is worth the money. So now we're at the next stage, and Devi and Inda have hit a paywall. To convert them to paying customers, the information on the paywall should be compelling enough to convince them to click on the pay button. In our research, we showed the audience several different kinds of paywalls. We learned that there are 6 attributes which have the most impact on willingness to pay. The first one is the payment model, whether it's one-time payment option or a subscription. Second is genres available. Do you offer multiple genres or do you specialize on a niche content? Then payment frequency, how often they have to top up. Then the next one would be monthly cost, and this is in comparison to other alternatives they have. Finally, there is a value proposition, basically what your publication has to offer and why to subscribe to a paid version. And finally, news formats. Do you show news in text format only, or you also offer some other formats such as video infographics? So let me start with payment models, since this is by far the most important factor in convincing people to pay. It is important to give people different options, from traditional monthly subscriptions to a pay-per-article option. The research shows that news readers who have never paid before are more attracted to the option of one-time payment, either in the form of one-time donation or a pay-per-article option. However, readers like Devi, who is not new to paying for news, are much more open to a long-term commitment, be it a monthly, annual subscription, or a form of membership. It is important to give your readers an option to try your online version with a small one-time payment first. And then after they try it, they will be much more open to committing to a long-term subscription. As for myself, I can totally relate to this. Going back to my example with The Economist, the final trigger that convinced me to pay was an option of 6 weeks trial sold at a discounted price, which I could try before signing up for a full annual subscription. So let's move to some other important things on your paywall. Here you can see the version which scored the most points with Indonesian consumers. You can see that they are attracted to a one-time payment option, as I said before. What else can we see here? The variety of genres. Getting access to all genres or general news is more attractive than niche content, and this is especially true for those who never paid for news. In terms of value propositions, they're looking for reliable and accurate information more than anything else. And lastly, specifically in Indonesia, providing content in video form was important. So finally, there is another important observation we had about paywalls, and that variety of payment method is critical to conversion. And in particular in Indonesia, digital wallets, for example, such as GoPay or OVA, prepaid cards such as Mandiri e-money or BCA Plus, credit cards and phone credits were the most popular options selected by Indonesian consumers. Finally, we leave Inda behind as she is still hesitant and joining Devi for her post-purchase experience. At the post-purchase stage, we were mostly interested in reader satisfaction with the paid version of news site or app, and how publishers can encourage them to continue subscribing. So our first observation was that paying for online news is quite a recent trend in Indonesia. We asked people who were already paying for news how long they had been subscribers. About 1/3 had started subscribing less than 6 months ago, while more than half brought the subscription within the past 7 months or 2 years. As you can see, those are very early days, and there is room to experiment and bring more news readers to the paid version of your site or app. However, there is a good news as well. We asked people how satisfied they are and how much value they see in paid news product. So the research found that people who already subscribe have a very high level of satisfaction and also place a high value on their subscription. You can see on the chart here that 9 out of 10 people are satisfied with the experience, and the value score is at 80% out of 100%, which is comparable to video and music streaming services. Why were they so happy? First, they're happy with quality and the value accurate and reliable information. Second, people really enjoy the personalized experience and like getting the exact information they want with the right level of depth in a format they prefer. The research concludes that it's very important to invest in content personalization on the paid version of your website or app. What are some other conclusions we can draw from this information? Since most subscribers are so happy with your paid version, publishers should encourage them to share reviews on social media on your website. As we saw a few slides back, online reviews are the most important source of information for newsreaders, considering whether a paid version is worth the money. So encourage your current loyal readers to share their great experience in as many places as possible. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. We're about to say goodbye to Devi and Inda. So let me summarize the answers to the question we had at the beginning of the presentation. What will drive more readers to pay for online news content? For readers like Inda, accurate information and news without ads are important. To motivate them to pay for content, share online reviews and create a one-time payment option for them to try your paid version. For readers like Devi, inspire them with exclusive and niche content and personalized experience on your paid version. Make sure you make this clear on your website and social media. Those readers are the most willing to commit to long-term relationships such as subscriptions or memberships. Finally, when they have already subscribed, impress them with personalized experience that cater to their news needs, and then take them to share reviews with other people via your website or on social. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope we can share more research soon about how we helping publishers better understand Indonesian reader preferences in the future. Thank you, and now over to Jessica.